Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm just going to be talking about my slow fashion journey and how things have progressed over the years. It's been a long time coming, and I think I just wanted to show that slow fashion or going on this journey isn't going to happen overnight. It's a long process, and you have to stay committed to it, and you have to find your own reasons of why you want to do this in the first place. And yeah, so I think I'm going to start with fashion in general and how I started at all, which was in high school when I found that a lot of my peers around me kind of were around the same thing, which was a t-shirt over top, leggings, and then if it was the summer, it would be Converse or Vans sneakers or Uggs, and if it was the winter, and a Canada Goose jacket. Now, I was never really into Canada Goose jackets just because I knew they were made of animal fur, and the jacket themselves were always so puffy, and I just didn't like the look of it on myself. And then with leggings, I never owned a pair of leggings before high school, so I went on my way to purchase some, and there was nothing wrong with wearing them. They were super comfortable, and I get it, but it just wasn't fulfilling for me, I guess. I didn't really enjoy wearing them that much. And then with Converse sneakers or Vans sneakers, I found that they would hurt after wearing them for a long time, or like for a full day, because I have flat feet, so there's no foot support for that. And then with Uggs, same thing. I just was never really drawn to them, so I never purchased the pair. So I think I just needed to find a way to express myself that wasn't any of those items. And that turned into me going around malls or shops and always looking for a bargain to see what was on sale. As you can imagine, as a high school student, I didn't have a lot of money, so that was what I would do. And then I knew I had a shopping problem, especially when I would go into Urban Outfitters so often by my high school that I would know when a new item was just put in the sales rack. Yeah, and then that was around the time when I also discovered the thrift store. I think I heard it through YouTube of how you can find clothing pieces that were in great quality or good condition for a bargain, and you could still look great, you know? So it checked off all the check marks for me. Like, I didn't have a lot of money, so good deals. I wanted to find clothing that I could express myself in, but experiment with different silhouettes and colors that I would never have access to otherwise. So it was very about fulfilling my own self-interest, of finding my own self-identity. And thrift shopping also was a whole process in itself, especially with family approval, because I knew I just remember when I brought my first thrifted sweater, or first ever purchase, home, and my mom was so grossed out because not only was I buying secondhand, which she has never been comfortable doing, but I brought home a sweater that had a little stain on the sleeve that I didn't even know was there. So my shopping back then was not very conscious. Like, I would just look at something like, oh, this looks kind of cool, and then I wouldn't really inspect the condition of it, and then, I would just purchase it and go home with it. I continued thrift shopping though, and over time my mom has adjusted to it and has become more tolerant of it, for sure. And then this continued throughout high school, where I would still shop in malls, still look for sales, and especially with bargain shopping or bargain hunting, that's always been instilled in me, I think, because for the longest time it's been this tradition where every Boxing Day my family would wake up super early and get to the mall at like 6:30 a.m. just to find a good deal. Even now, like, that's still a tradition with my family, so shopping has always been this thing where you don't have to buy full price to get cool items, basically. And I agree. I completely agree. But I think there's a problem when you only want to buy things because of the price. Fast forward to when I graduated from high school, I started working at H&M full-time because I didn't want to go to university right away. And this was the first time when I truly became engulfed around clothing all the time. And at the time, I actually didn't have a lot of clothing from H&M at all. I had a lot of clothing from like Abercrombie & Fitch or like Urban Outfitters. So being around H&M all the time, I realized after a little over a year after I quit, I actually had a lot of things from H&M in my closet. And it made me realize that being surrounded by clothing all the time will make you want a lot of clothing all the time, because especially if you love clothing or fashion, you always want to try on that next new thing that will make you feel great, right? And at the time working at H&M, I never really thought about the impacts on the environment, like from fashion. I didn't really consider or even know that fashion was the third most polluting industry in the world. So working for H&M and them telling us about like the business model of them outsourcing their clothes or their orders never really stuck with me, or never really bothered me, because I didn't think about whether the workers who are making these garments are being underpaid, or I didn't think about how much waste they're producing with each order, you know? So I just kept working, and then the only part that I really realized that maybe like H&M wasn't so good for the planet was how all the accessories that like I would unpack every day was wrapped in plastic to be thrown away. And yeah, so it's super detrimental, right? So that was the only time where it became like super eye-opening for me. And then around 2018, well, after I quit H&M, I stopped being in retail for a little bit. And around 2018 was the time where I really discovered or really learned about how fashion is super wasteful, or why it's such a wasteful industry to be in. And I no longer shop now to fulfill my own self-interest, and not that it's not that I don't do it to fulfill my self-interest, but it's no longer the only reason I shop. It's looking at why I need a certain item in my closet and where it's coming from. So which brands am I supporting with my money? And overall, just looking at how long these garments will last after I purchase it and after I own it. How long can I make it last, and can I stretch out this item for as long as possible so that I'm not damaging the planet, or I'm not throwing away the garment after like 6 months. That's when I became more aware of ethical brands and slow fashion brands, and definitely over the years it's become so much better. There's been a lot more brands now that are more like ethical in their practices. Of course, you have to do like your brand research and figure out if they're really saying what they're like, if they're really doing what they're saying, so preventing greenwashing. Like, shopping now no longer is just about me and fulfilling what I want. It's more of looking at the bigger scope of things and looking at the bigger picture and considering all these factors before I purchase something. Now, 2020, I'm back in the retail environment. I'm working at Aritzia now, and all those feelings of wanting clothing all the time when you're surrounded by them has come back. So I can't say that just because I'm going on this slow fashion journey means that all my wants of like new clothing from a mall or from a shop is going to change after going on this journey. It's just you become a little more conscious about why you want to purchase something, or what's going to actually pull the trigger for you to buy it. So it's not to say like Aritzia clothing isn't nice. Like, the quality is really nice, and it can last for a really long time. So for me, it's about figuring out what do I really want that will last for me and that I can get a lot of use of. I don't want to just buy something just because it's the newest trend, or that I'm only going to wear it a couple times and then not wear it anymore. So I have purchased a couple things that were true holes in my closet from them. For example, like my down jacket that goes all the way to my feet. Because for example, if I can't find something at the thrift store, which I will always look at first, if I can't find it there, the next best option is to look at where you can put your money in, or in which companies that you can support. So yeah, I think that's about it. But I think also one thing that has been super eye-opening has been a quiz on ThredUp. If you search up "how dirty is my closet," that is a quiz that you can take to see your own environmental footprint on your shopping behaviors for fashion and see where you're at. I hope this video helped with telling you or showing you that this journey is definitely not linear and it's not going to be perfect, but making an effort is definitely so much better than not making an effort at all. I hope that helps a little bit. I'd love to hear if you're thinking about going on this journey, if you have any questions. I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. Yeah, I think that's about it. If I'm missing anything, I'll probably touch on it in another video, but for now, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.